who's saying she's sweating, she's panicking.
Yeah.
But I think people ate that up because people already assumed that that was happening. It was at that point, it was just confirmation bias that the president of Mexico, who
Sorry about that. Doing some testing. Testing, testing.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. On behalf of the U.S. Border Patrol, I'd like to report that on today's date, at approximately 1:40 p.m., agents working in Fronton reported shots fired coming from Mexico.
Okay, I think I'm ready. Let me do a check. One last check. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. Welcome back to the channel. Going to be looking at a few things that I find really interesting. A lot going on these days. But yeah, let's get into it. So let's start with this. Um, this is from the White House. Additional physical barriers, deploying more personnel, unmanned aerial systems, revision of policies and strategies, reporting. one other guy said that this is one of the most important things too. One that I was watching the other day said within 90 days of the date of the proclamation, the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall submit a joint report to the President about the conditions at the southern border in the United States, any recommendation regarding additional actions that may be necessary to obtain complete operation control of the southern border, including whether to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, just wanted to look at that real quick before we get into this. And I didn't show this before. If I showed something that I have up before, my bad. I don't think I showed any of this. But if I did, sorry. Anyway, this is the map. United States areas of influence of major Mexican transnational criminal organizations, July 2015. So it's old. I want you to know that it's old, but it's important still. It's the one that's declassified. Yeah. So as you can see, even in 2015, yeah, well, this is where I'm at in Michigan. It's very interesting. Sinaloa is the largest one in our country, it looks like to me. I want to see the 2024 report. Dang it, I wish they'd declassify that. That'd be interesting to see. So our state is in red. Well, it was in red, and even back then. Anyway, you're looking onward. I like maps. Just so you know, they show a lot less reading. Okay, next page. Yeah, I wanted to show you some of this before we get into some of the other stuff. I got a couple videos that got pulled up that I want you to see and I want to react to. And this is all mind blowing to me because I never knew any of this before the headlines started. When the headlines started coming off on the cartels, I was like, huh. I started to look a little bit into it. And then when Trump designated them terrorists and did the national state of emergency for the border or whatever, that's when I really started to look into it. I'm like, holy crap, is it that bad? Come to find out, it's pretty bad. In my opinion, it's pretty bad. Anyway. And that was that end of that one. And this is the headlines I seen today. The cartels are using drones with bombs on them, which is crazy. Just like in Ukraine, they're doing that. They must, I don't know. It's at that time where technology is becoming seriously useful for people that do a lot of war tactics or whatever. And but yeah, let's look into this. Yeah, which is kind of alarming. So let's start off with some pages. Look at some of these reports. Yes, this one isn't very good. I don't like this. Oh, this is the one I was looking for. Two miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. In March, a top general revealed in congressional testimony that more than 1,000 drones per month. Oh, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, testimony that more than 1,000 drones per month are crossing into U.S. airspace near the border with Mexico, which he warned was a growing potential threat to national security. Falling on deaf ears. That's not good. Today, though, they are unable to detect, identify, and track small aircraft at both high and low altitudes. They said inside the United States we can hardly track anything other than commercial aircraft. Almost none of our domestic military bases have the sensors to identify small drones. That's not good. Maybe we should beef that up a little bit. Okay. Anyway, moving on. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, that's the last of that. And then we get into, this is like an official document. Official document, Arizona is being invaded by cartels. That's what I Google searched. Purpose declares the last fire. Blah 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 blah. This is a little bit older, just so you're aware. I believe I can fly. Yeah, March 8th, 2024, I believe. Okay, so getting down to it. Provisions declares that the trafficking of fentanyl across the Arizona border is a public health crisis and requires DHS to do everything within its authority to address the fentanyl crisis. 2. States that the legislature declares that it is Arizona's public policy to protect the state from drug cartels that threaten the public safety, health, or general welfare of the people. Declares that the federal government's failure to secure the Arizona border from unlawful invasion is dangerous and unprecedented. Declares that overdose deaths involving synthetic opioids are primarily driven by illicit manufactured fentanyl. Requires Arizona law to be interpreted and construed to protect the state's sovereign authority against any unlawful invasion at the Arizona-Mexico border. is an ongoing formal or informal association of persons in which members or associates, individuals, or collective engage in smuggling, trafficking, and the outlined act of that. And right here, this is it defines unlawful invasion as illicit activities of drug cartel. Becomes effective on general effective date. So that's interesting. Very interesting that they're saying. Interesting. Anyway, moving on. And this one is from Texas. Whereas the state of Texas and the United States federal government have 1,254 miles of land to protect along Texas border with Mexico, a job that has become increasingly violent as the state has been subject to an invasion by foreign drug cartels. Wow, dude, that's crazy.
How to create dope t-shirt designs for a print-on-demand store. Whether you're creating t-shirt designs for clients or for yourself, it can be hard to start from just a blank canvas. And that's why tons of professional designers and I myself use Kittle. For one, there's literally thousands of templates for every popular niche that you could think of. Two, there's unlimited illustration content because for myself, it's hard to start off with nothing and it's a lot easier to start off with some inspiration. So as you can see, there's lots and lots of templates that you can choose from, especially if you're doing a t-shirt design. And let me show you exactly how easy it is to edit. So all I'm gonna do is click on this one right here. And now you're pretty much free to edit all these elements however you would like to edit it. And what's also cool is that you can create multiple artboards on just one project alone. So for example, if you have a sleeve print on your t-shirt design, we can go ahead and create another artboard in the exact dimensions that we want it to be. And we can also create, for example, if this is the back.
Dude, I turned it down. Oh my god, and what the heck is going on? Testing, testing. Why did my audio go down? Testing, testing. Testing. Hello. Okay, now that that's a little better. Yeah, I I literally just did this, but before the stream, for some reason it didn't stay up. But anyway, and then my desktop audio didn't stay down. But anyway, continuing on. Okay. Make sure this is gonna work.
Of these threats. So we were able to obtain this through our CBP sources. Now, some of these posts are pretty aggressive here. Some of them, they're calling for just the outright murder of ICE officers. They're telling people, kill your local ICE police, telling illegal immigrants to defecate in the trucks, telling them to impale them with nails, to spit in their food. These are circulating across social media, causing this concern for these local officials that are boots on the ground. Now, Border Czar Tom Homan, he told our News Nation's Kelly Meyer this week that leaked information about operations has actually forced them to pivot on these ops and reschedule them because the safety of these officers is then at risk here. So take a listen to what the Border Czar had to say about that.
We got many target cities, but I'm not going to share them with you because we got to keep our officers safe. Matter of fact, Chicago, that operation was leaked, so we had to reschedule that one. So we need the element of surprise, right? Because officer safety issues. We don't let the bad guy know we're coming to keep our officers more safe.
So this all comes as there were 2 reported cross-border shootings earlier this week, namely in Fronton, Texas. That's in the Rio Grande Valley sector, where Border Patrol actually exchanged gunfire with suspected cartel members. That video that you're looking at, that's the Mexican military response after the incident took place. Now, Blake, we also just got our hands on a memo out of the Rio Grande Valley sector that actually says that this is kind of crazy here, that the cartels authorized the use of weaponized drones, explosives against CBP personnel and U.S. law enforcement down there at the southern border. Now, they're actually being encouraged, of course, to remain cognizant and vigilant, but they're also being encouraged to use their long arms, Blake. I have never seen this in a CBP memo before. They say, wear your ballistic gear, yes, but they're telling them, hey, have your long arms. Yes, they are saying, watch out for these weaponized drones. We've seen a lot of infighting with 2 different factions of the cartel down in Tamaulipas, that is on the south side of the border in the Rio Grande Valley, and they have like an all-out war happening between these cartel factions. So they are warning now that they might be using these weaponized drones against U.S. personnel on this side. So definitely cause for concern there.
Wow. Our Allie Bradley live tonight along the southern border there in Del Rio, Texas. Allie, thank you. Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to
So yeah, that's interesting to hear. Some crazy stuff. Yeah. Moving on.
Do not miss HoneyBook's lowest price. Join before February 4th to get client proposals.
An urgent warning for people traveling back and forth from Mexico. Officials say cartel members near Brownsville have been placing explosives along the roadway. The News 4 I-Team's Jordan Elder found out who they're targeting and why officials in both countries are urging you to be careful.
Don't touch, don't move, don't manipulate. Residents in Tamaulipas, which is across the border from Brownsville, woke up to a concerning message. Cartels are placing explosives like these along the roads.
It's a shame that those are images I thought I left behind in the combat zone in Iraq and Afghanistan, and now I never in a million years really thought that we would be seeing that so close to home.
Patricia Driscoll grew up along the border, later serving as a military contractor.
People who are from there we don't think of our Mexican border as a war zone, and we don't want to.
She says this message is alarming for people in border cities who cross back and forth every day.
People thinking, well, I'm just commuting to work. I'm just commuting to see my family. And now I have to worry about terrorist-like devices.
This is a 24-hour command center that we have here in the border on the U.S. side.
Security experts like Jorge Luis Cisneros are watching these threats closely. His company provides protection for companies in the U.S. and Mexico.
The cartels are fighting each other, but they're not looking to hurt Americans or any travelers that are the foreigners.
Some are still worried this could be retaliation or a warning. President Trump signing an executive order this week designating drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
I'm not sure that it changes their behaviors anymore, but it is definitely time for them to see that the United States is not going to allow it to continue business as usual.
Long-term violence could have big impacts on the economies of both countries.
There's millions and millions of dollars that are coming back and forth, and we have to protect the people that are involved or working there, you know.
Congressman Tony Gonzalez represents several of those border cities. He tells us action is being taken to curtail cartel activity. Quote, Mexico needs to play a vital role in this, and current interactions between the United States and Mexico's government officials are rooted in improving safety and security initiatives across the board. So far, there haven't been major threats in cities like El Paso, Eagle Pass, or Del Rio, but as tensions rise, officials are urging travelers to be careful. Jordan Elder, News 4 San Antonio.
They need to take one person by one person and investigate it. And if they are bad, then take them out. But most of them, they are good people.
That was one of the people who took part in a protest on the South Side earlier this evening. They say they aren't happy with the Trump mass deportations of undocumented immigrants. This is what White House border czar Tom Homan told ABC News this morning.
It's not okay to violate laws of this country. We have millions of people standing in line, taking the test, doing their background investigation, paying the fees that want to come in the right way.
ICE agents are now able to enter churches and schools to arrest migrants who are suspected of being in the country illegally. That is causing uproar from some locals. News 4 San Antonio's Phil Sterling has more on how they're responding to the news.
The San Fernando Cathedral, like many other churches around the nation, is filled with people on a Sunday afternoon. But now they could see federal arrests take place.
So yeah, that's pretty wild. Planting explosives at the border. There was that I showed you that I wanted to react to. That's pretty wild. At this point, I don't know, man. That's what I feel like doing, just yelling. It's freaking crazy. Oh, this is something about, yeah, let's listen to this.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. On behalf of the U.S. Border Patrol, I'd like to report that on today's date, at approximately 1:40 p.m., agents working in Fronton reported shots fired coming from Mexico into their vicinity. Agents returned fire and took cover. We have deployed resources to secure the area. All local state partners have been notified, and our internal agencies are reviewing and conducting an investigation. Should there be more information, that will be forthcoming.
As I asked earlier from you guys, how important is this boat unit to be able to protect this area of the border, especially?
That is an extremely important unit that we have. They serve as one of our first lines of defense in the securing our border mission.
And obviously, this is not just any regular unit. Agents have to be specialized, have to be trained. Also, how important is that training so they can protect themselves in these situations?
It is extremely crucial. You know, they refer to the Rio Grande as El Rio Bravo for a reason. They highly rely on their trainings.
What role
did Vortex play in today's incident?
Correct. They secured the area, and they will continue to be searching all local areas, as well as keeping the communities safe.
Have there been any incidents involving Border Patrol in this front-turn area similar to the one that occurred today?
Excuse me?
Was there any incidents in the past that was similar to what happened to Border Patrol agents today in the front-turn area? I know it's an extremely dangerous area.
It has happened. That is one of our busiest zones in the Rio Grande Valley sector when it comes to either human trafficking or any type of narcotic smuggling.
Just in the past week, Vortex was also called in the California border after an American hiker was shot, and Vortex was called today. Does the Border Patrol expect?
Yes, I don't know if you heard that, but there is a report of a hiker being shot from a suspected cartel member. I don't think they got him, but suspected right along the border. I'll look into that in just a second.
These clashes with potential Mexican cartel suspects to increase in the future? What's Border Patrol's response?
That is why those units exist. They are our special operations unit, and they are highly trained and ready to be called into those situations at any moment.
Fox 5 is on top of a developing story out near the Jacumba Mountains where a hiker was robbed and shot by a suspected cartel member. U.S. Border Patrol's El Centro sectors posting about the incident along the border of San Diego and Imperial counties. This video was posted to social media showing the person who was shot in the leg being airlifted out of the area. It happened along the border on a remote hiking trail. Details on the actual shooting are still unclear, but it's not known if someone was taken into custody. Border Patrol is describing the suspect as, quote, terrorists.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. Interesting. Anyways, not sure why that keeps going down. My audio keeps going down right in the middle of when I'm talking, so I'm keep checking it. Not sure why. I have to do something about that. Anyway, there's that. We checked on that. That's done. So this is very interesting what they say on Ironclad. Go check that channel out. Really interesting to hear what these guys have to say about some of this stuff.
People say is part of the source who's
Okay, and this was released 2 hours ago.
saying she's sweating, she's panicking.
Yeah.
But I think people ate that up because people already assumed that that was happening. You know, it was at that point, it was just confirmation bias that the president of Mexico, who people say is part of the narco party, um, is freaking out that these criminal organizations are going to be declared by the United States as terrorist organizations. Yeah, I would probably be shitting my pants too.
Yeah, it's you know, we get a lot of guests on here that talk about Mexico and how corrupt it is. Could you confirm how corrupt it potentially is all the way up to the top? And then another question is there any kind of sources that might say that even leads into DC?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, through my own reporting, And simply just through looking into context and details, whether it's about, the investigation into the previous Mexican president receiving money from the Sinaloa cartel, the
Mhm.
open investigation into the governor of Sinaloa, um, and then El Mayo ending up on the American side of the border. It doesn't take a fucking genius to put these puzzle pieces together and say, yeah, this is corruption that runs through the deepest and most private corridors of every level of government in Mexico. And this is something that we've seen for years, and people know about this. I'm not coming on here and breaking some crazy fucking story saying, oh my God, the Mexican government is probably corrupt. I mean, let's be fucking for real. But the difference now is that Trump is publicly screaming from the rooftops of the White House that we're going to crack down on this corruption. Why? Because this level of corruption has allowed for too many Americans to die.
Yeah.
So for uh, for years, there's been heroin, meth, crack, but now fentanyl kind of changed the tune a little bit because fentanyl was so deadly, it's so toxic, and it's coming into the United States through, by the way,
Yeah.
so both borders, northern and southern border. And I talk about that a lot. We can go back to that. Um, and I think that at this point, it's okay, there's too many people dying, there's too much fentanyl. We need to sort of crack down on this in a way. And I mean, it's important to keep in mind that people in Mexico aren't doing fentanyl, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's of course the Mexican president is going to say, I, hypothetically, allegedly, you know, if you're the Mexican president and you're profiting off of organized crime, and the citizens of your country are not dying at extreme rates due to organized crime, due to the drugs, let's say, because the organized crime is killing a lot of people because of public displays of violence. But if you're profiting off of it and you don't have hundreds of thousands of people dying, why would you put an end to it?
Yeah. It's not your emergency.
No, it's not. It's an American emergency.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, there's thoughts that why would President Sheinbaum be so nervous about the whole indication for the cartel? Well, because eventually if the US military gets involved, starts to dismantle them, and eventually when you start gathering intel, you start to find out the corruption might go all the way up. And that's a fear of some people, like, hey, if they start catching you guys, are you guys going to give me up? And that kind of idea, I imagine, through all politics in Mexico, I imagine, is the fear as who knows what the next steps is for the United States government and the cartel, right? Designate them as a terrorist organization. What are the next steps? I have some thoughts because that is my background, special operations. So I have some ideas on what could be coming next. But in that, as we were dismantling terrorist organizations in Afghanistan or Iraq, it was a slow process of gathering intel, of doing missions. We were doing raids on different houses, gathering those individuals up, whether it be kill or capture. And then we secure all information we had to gather on further intel to do further missions. And in those intel gathering systems, you start to identify other people associated with these individuals. And then you continue to break it down slowly. That's the process of what I did in Iraq and Afghanistan. I imagine we're not far from that with now added technology that would make it even easier process. And so when you do that, the web of lies that's been happening, the web of corruption starts to kind of show its face. And that's what I believe a lot of politicians will be fearing. Even if there is corruption spilled over in America, I think we will find it during these times. But that's what I think is happening in the higher ends of the government in Mexico.
I agree. And I think that's what's prompting this strong sense of fear is, it's not about them going in and capturing the guys who are responsible for making fentanyl or even trafficking it. It's about assets frozen for associates, cartel sleeper cells in the United States, people who are in the United States, sort of in a, you know, exile in a way. You know, they can't be in Mexico. They're in the United States. They're living sort of cushy lives. And now that life is going to unravel because why do you have X amount of money that somehow ties back to someone who is associated with the cartel? Automatically, now you become an associate and those assets are frozen. And I think that is going to be the biggest deterrent. And it's also going to be what's spooking most people is not the American government, you know, going in and blowing up these trap houses in Culiacan or Reynosa. It's going to be people who are in positions of power, who have a lot of money, who have a lot of nefarious money, dirty money, and they're going to have to say goodbye to that money, or they're going to have to try to hide it. And they're now going to be on a list, and they're going to be watched. And I think that's going to scare a lot of people in business, people in politics, who have ties with Mexico and who have ties with organized crime.
Let me show you how you can grow a six-figure drone side hustle.
So yeah, wild to hear them. Wow, yeah. I was hoping the corruption was not that deep. But from what they're saying, seems like it is, dude. I don't know. What do I know? Just an average person trying to look at the smoke and mirrors. So this is the other thing that I wanted to show you. There's one last thing before I get off. This right here. There's a documentary on YouTube called Cartelville that I found and I watched. Or that I watched some of it. I watched it all. So this is something that I find extremely interesting to see. And this, it's just insane. It's insane. It's insanity what's actually going on. And for these guys and gals to put it out there, open the lid a little bit so more people can understand what's actually going on. It really helps. I'm so glad they did this. And I don't know, I might have to reach out and thank them personally because this documentary is insane. Alright, let's check to see if anybody's with us. Oh, I do got somebody with us. Nice, mate. Okay.
These marijuana grows are either connected to Mexican cartels or high-level criminal organizations that also use human trafficking as they've used workers to work these grows. On this grow, there was 5 Chinese nationals that were working this grow that are undocumented, don't speak any English, and are most likely were human trafficked here into the United States to work on these illegal grow-ops.
You know, if there's marijuana there, they got somebody watching it.
I don't feel safe in my home. I don't feel safe leaving my home.
These cartels, they are no joke.
A man in a pickup truck found dead. They shot him right through the windshield of the truck.
They have weapons. They shoot at the neighbors. They shoot at our deputies.
If you're just shooting at random citizens because they're too close to your investment, that's unacceptable, and I can't have that.
They have minor children from Central America working on these grows.
Their whole purpose to come here was just to tend for the grow, and then it helps cover their costs for whoever brought them over.
Now let's rewind and take a step back and ask ourselves, how did we get here? My name is Jorge Ventura. I'm a reporter for the Daily Caller, and for the past several months, I've been covering the border crisis in South Texas. While covering the border crisis in Texas, I met Congressman Mike Garcia, who represents District 25 in Southern California. Congressman Garcia mentioned to me that he is so focused on the border due to the Mexican cartels who are starting up illegal marijuana growing operations back in his district in communities like Palmdale and the Antelope Valley.
Yeah, the magnitude of the problem is what shocks me.
I was shocked to hear Palmdale, which happens to be my hometown, where I grew up my entire life, is now being taken over by Mexican drug cartels in my own backyard.
But what we got right here on my property, I'm just gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I can barely see one over here, which will bring it up to 11.
This is just from your backyard.
Man, this whole thing. Like I said, just being here and growing up in Palmdale and the Antelope Valley, you never imagine it.
These drug cartels are wreaking havoc on the entire Antelope Valley, and nobody is talking about it.
This is the Cartels. We are very, very close to driving down the freeway and seeing bodies hanging from the overpasses. That is what's coming.
Considered remote by Los Angeles County standards, but we all love living here rurally. We respect privacy. When people move here, they don't like to leave.
If you'd asked me a year prior that I wanted to live in the middle of the desert, 80 miles north of Los Angeles, I would have said no. But this looked like the place to be.
Very much felt like we were in the Andy Griffin show. You know, everyone knew everybody. People were always out, helping one another.
The Antelope Valley may be in the Golden State, but it is nothing like the California you see on TV. This is a desert, middle of nowhere, and quite frankly, the Wild Wild West. People move out here from cities like Los Angeles and Hollywood to get away from the rat race and raise their families peacefully.
I bought this property in '99, moved up here, was gonna build a main house, get my wife up here, get her out of the city.
One of the big advantages of the Antelope Valley was it was considered to be a safe place to raise your kids.
I go forward buying out here. I love it out here. That's why I couldn't move.
It was a safe place and it was very affordable.
A place for freedom and affordability.
I know you can't string up a dipole like that out down in the city.
They have their own home and their kids can go to schools where they can feel safe.
You know, it's a community. People are out here for the same reason we're out here, to get away from the rat race.
I moved here after I got out of the military. My deal was I wanted to get away from problems in town, so I moved out here trying to escape, but sometimes you can't escape by moving.
So one day, phone rings, a neighbor hunting, calls me up and says, do you have marijuana growing on your property? And I said, no, I don't have marijuana growing on my property. And he said, well, someone's got a marijuana grow on the south end of your property. And I said, I don't think so. Anyhow, he calls me up an hour later. He goes, oh no, it's on your property or the people south of you. And I said, wow, well, let's call the cops.
Big time we started noticing it in January. He's the one that actually pointed out to me, did you see what's going on across the street? What is that? It looks like X-Files. And like, at first I didn't care. I don't know, I don't care.
About 3 years ago, we had a grow go in about 2 miles north of us. We could see it from our property.
But then we started noticing another one and then another one.
Starting a year ago, the grows started growing exponentially.
One here, one there.
But there were people walking around who didn't seem to belong here.
Then we started noticing those water totes.
Within 5 miles of my house, there are probably 50 grows.
Open and blatant operations here now.
The people with water trucks and water containers.
There's a new one that comes in every week.
And I'm like, what is going on?
So we just arrived at the office of Mayor R.X. Paris, which is the mayor of Lancaster. The mayor actually was present last month in that press conference hosted by LA County Sheriffs, where they announced that they made the biggest bust of illegal marijuana operations in Sheriff Department history.
We're talking about whether or not the entire Antelope Valley continues to survive if this goes unchecked. And then the other thing people forget about cartels is these are multi-billion-dollar organizations. I mean, they rival Amazon. Let's be clear about the scope of these operations. And they run them like businesses.
These cartels bring their drugs from across the southern border and distribute them inside the United States through various channels. But the most interesting thing about this operation is that the product of sale is now being grown on U.S. soil out in the open.
This illegal marijuana growing operation, it is worth over $700,000. These are well-funded criminal organizations. As you guys can see, the infrastructure, the greenhouses, the hoops, and also the water that they have to bring in here. They steal water from the communities and use water trucks, truck them up here, and that's how they're able to grow their crops. So we are actually currently looking at over a $700,000 operation here in San Bernardino County with these greenhouses. This property alone, there's 9 greenhouses. You guys can see that they have the lighting, black and white tarps like this. They're actually able to manipulate the grow seasons, and they're able to get 4 grows every year. And as this continues, what these cartels are eventually doing to these communities are actually taking them over and turning them into ghost towns. We already seen 3 or 4 communities in the Antelope Valley here in the San Bernardino County that have been completely taken over by these cartels and pushing families away.
They have what they call grow kits. They'll go to, say, like a Costco, and they'll buy a above ground pool to store water and mix chemicals. They buy all the plywood that they build to shield it. They buy all the plastic that goes over the top, the wire that they use to wire for the lighting, and they can do it so quickly that they can pop up within a matter of days.
That number grew significantly to the point we did air reconnaissance.
Now, the first step in operating an illegal marijuana growing operation is by acquiring a plot of land. This is either done by squatting on a piece of land or by purchasing a home with large landmass in a rural community through a realtor just like you or I would.
From a real estate standpoint, how are these cartels and criminal organizations buying these properties, where these properties are being bought for, and who is selling them?
Yeah, we're looking at that right now, real time. And what's happening in some of these organizations, and it's pretty much all of the players are going in and offering not just top dollar for the property, but another 20–30% premium on top of fair market value, and then all cash, right? So these homeowners are looking at this going, why would I not sell to them? And the homeowners may not be even aware of what's going on. But what I want to know is, do the real estate agents know what's going on?
The one real estate person that I have spoken with pretty much closes her eyes to what's actually going on.
And I understand trying to make money, but when you live down below and you have a real estate company and you sell a couple of acres up here and pocket the money.
They don't want to know what the people are going to do with the house, or even suspect what the people are going to do with the house.
But those couple of acres get contaminated and ruin a community through illegal cannabis grows. It's just not right.
It's 2.5 acres, a 2-bedroom and dilapidated property. Is the one that sold this home. She's also the one that contacted me about buying my home. She sold that one for $330.
It's disturbing, because some real estate people, they will sell a house for a lot more money, but they won't ask any questions because they're making income off of it.
The same gentleman, the same Armenian man has bought in all 3 properties. The Armenians coming out of Glendale, a crime element, are up here buying homes and doing indoor grows.
Okay. So the house next to us,
yes,
sold it to, was an Armenian gentleman, and now it's an inside grow.
Yes.
We could see it from your backyard.
Right.
That same gentleman bought 2 more here.
Both houses. And if I'm correct, I think it's honey oil maybe, that they extract the oil out of the marijuana, which is another thing that they do indoors. Called me, wanted to know if I'd sell my house. And we discussed the Armenian thing. She said, oh, it's the same person out of Glendale. I said, no way.
And all these surrounding homes have been sold to either Armenians or Mexican drug cartels. And now John is literally the only one in his neighborhood standing up here and fighting and not willing to sell.
It's really bad acoustics in here. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
It echoes. I have been in real estate for over 30 years. About a year ago, we started noticing an influx of people that I don't want to say, well, probably didn't really fit into our community because they were coming from the larger cities farther down in LA. They weren't families coming, they were a certain group of people, and they have very specific requirements that they're looking for.
The person that's coming out to look at the house really has no interest in the house. How big is it? Where's the water at?
Larger outdoor buildings, 200 to 400 amp electrical service.
Does it have solar? What are the utility hookups and things like that? It's not the normal questions that you or I would ask if we were looking to move into a residential area.
A little more remote, probably, a little farther out on the dirt roads. And what we learned was they were really looking for something that they could hide. I'm going to call it that.
And has that changed the pricing in homes? Are these homes, are the prices now skyrocketing?
Absolutely. We recently have noticed a very average property probably listed in the low 700s.
Every day I've been looking at this house right across the street from me, and it's just infuriating me.
It will sell with multiple offers on it, and usually the top offer is $75,000 to $100,000 over the asking price.
There was 11 offers on the house, and the highest one was the one that went.
And again, the cash that's available out there, these people can pay cash for homes, and think about it from a buyer's perspective.
They are coming with pre-approved loans, able to close escrow very quickly.
And some of you have a buyer that's willing to pay cash for your home, and this is an overnight short escrow. I mean, it's attractive to a number of people.
Do you believe that there are certain real estate agents acting in bad faith when it comes to selling these homes, knowing that that buyer will turn it into a garage? Obviously, they're paying way above asking price. Do you feel that some are acting in bad faith with these criminal organizations?
Yes, I do.
Mexican cartel-related operations that have exploded in the Antelope Valley.
It doesn't stop.
We're 300 miles away from the border, and we have one of the largest illegal drug operations happening in the backyard in the high deserts of Los Angeles.
It's accelerating to the degree that we're just...
This looks like a video game. This isn't a video game. This is real. Those are assault weapons.
I mean, they are way ahead of us. We can't seem to get one step ahead of them.
Once the land is acquired, workers will then live on the land for the next several months and build the infrastructure for marijuana grows in the forms of hoop houses or greenhouses.
And this one is under this white tarp. You can see they have the lighting here. You can see here the water lines. What were you telling me that there was a water meter on this property?
Yeah, there's a water meter on this property as you drive to the corner there, and so they were able to get their own water.
Yeah, this is insane. And it would be different if they weren't spraying pesticides all over it that are toxic. It'd be a little bit different, but they're spraying toxic pesticides over it and selling it to people, which is not very good. If they did it organic, I don't know, maybe it would be treated differently, but it's not.
Water supply right here.
They'll use this what's called trash mulch, and they'll set up kind of a boundary in a wall like that. It blocks the view and you can't see what's going on. This is used by Mexican drug cartels and organized crime groups to block what's going on in these operations. It could actually be pesticides right now. That's a common thing when it comes to outdoor grows. They have to spray some type of chemicals to keep wildlife from coming in and actually, eating the pot of waste. You guys, you see right behind me, we still have a sombrero from one of the workers. That's the RV where the workers stayed and sleep in, just kind of controlling this operation, bringing in water here and stealing water from the community. These are horrible living conditions. You guys can see this is all trash, lots of bugs. There's a gun right here on the bed. What? There's a gun right here.
And for the next several months, workers will then tend and water the plants until it's harvesting time to trim the buds and ship the product across the country.
Then you need a whole bunch of people to cut all the buds and do what they call trimming.
We are currently inside what is known as a trimming house. You guys can see here are some of the buds, and all over the floor, these trimmings can be found. This is where the indentured servants or migrants work throughout the day and night.
We have people that are coming over that are living in conditions to pay their wage that are unimaginable and inhumane.
40 people were living in this small shed. Not only that, this is in the high desert. It goes up to at least 100, 110 degrees every day.
Child trafficking is also involved here. They're now coming up here as slave labor for these marijuana grows.
And you can only imagine that how 40 people could be living in here, including young women, but you can take a look at that.
And they're brought here and given a jug of water and oatmeal or power bars or whatever, and there's a guy with a gun forcing them to work the marijuana grows.
People who are actually working on these marijuana grows are just indentured servants, migrants paying their debt to these cartels.
I only learned about this because they began escaping and walking past my house.
We actually see in some of these grows human trafficking occurring, where they're bringing people from out of state, other countries.
With the cartels, the only one who wins are the people at the top, right? Everyone else down here gets a little tiny bit of something.
And essentially making them work these grows and tend these grows so that they can, gain their citizenship or whatever the trade is.
But a lot of them are under pressure to work, right? And they're being forced, and there's undue hurt and pain. And if you get out of line, they eliminate you.
And it's all about the grow, not about people.
We want to turn to the historic night here in California. What affects you the most?
Yeah, voters legalize the recreational use of marijuana. Here's a look at the
This is a historic night for the country and, of course, for all Californians. We've had
essentially
marijuana
it largely
legalized.
decriminalizes existing state-level marijuana penalties.
So Prop 64 made, it decriminalized it, which had, I think, a hopeful intent not to impact certain demographic groups that would utilize cannabis and have a negative impact on them.
The war on drugs in California has been a war on poor people, a war on people of color, and it is time for change.
However, decriminalizing it took it from a felony to a misdemeanor. So it's only a $500 fine to grow illegally now. And when you look at all of our surrounding states that have cannabis recreationally available to them, it's still a felony to grow and to cultivate illegally. So that is really what has created this problem.
Their yield on some of the smaller grows is close to $1 million. And when you think about the consequences for anyone, a misdemeanor consequence, so we're talking about a citation, maybe a $500 fine at the end of the prosecution, but you have a chance to make $1 million, the risk versus reward isn't there like it was before when it was a felony.
When you look at all of our surrounding states that have cannabis recreationally available to them, it's still a felony to grow and to cultivate illegally.
And what I still don't understand too, Mr. Lackey, is out of all the West Coast states that legalize cannabis, in Oregon, in Colorado, Washington State, illegal cultivation is still a felony.
Every state that surrounds us, it's a felony. That's why they're all coming here.
California is the only state where illegal cultivation got knocked down from a felony to a misdemeanor. We are the only state where illegal cultivation is a misdemeanor.
Why do you think they're here? Of course. Where would you go where you can go without any kind of consequence, even when you're found out? Even when they're found out, there's no prosecution. So why wouldn't you go there, right? You think the desert is a garden spot? No, it's not. But the reason why they come here is because there's no enforcement.
And another aspect into this right now is the Los Angeles County District Attorney is George Gascon.
Yeah.
He's more progressive. LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva has been very critical of him. There's also still a recall Gascon movement right now in Los Angeles.
For us to have to walk these streets again with them on the street, knowing that they're gonna do it again, it's not fair. Please, just get this man out of here.
Do you think that he will prosecute these suspects that are connected to these marijuana illegal
We'll
grows?
see. If his track record is any indication, then he won't, most likely. Calling him very progressive, I think, is a nice way of saying this guy is working for the criminals more than he's working for the law.
Look at, there's cops right here, so if he wants to follow us, let him follow us.
Okay, so basically right now, we just found an active illegal marijuana grow up.
You know, we can't get up too close because there is workers still at this location. And the worker actually came out and saw us, and he actually just jumped in his car and started following us.
I just went by the grow area, and when I went by my 4x4, I'm with a journalist right now, and he didn't like it that I went by his place.
So we're going out hiking, and we were going to go up into the hills.
Exploring, you know, different parts of the neighborhood and abandoned buildings and that.
We're walking by this house that it's abandoned house. We walked through there 3 or 4 times before, and all of a sudden we noticed there must have been 40 people coming out of it.
40 Hispanics came out of here, and 2 of them were women.
And right across the street is a new grow, so we're a little bit more nervous. So we take off, we turn the corner.
As they were heading home, a man in a truck, 4 men actually, in one truck, started to follow them.
And we're being followed by a truck.
Approached them and questioned, why are you out here?
What are you doing out here?
Don't come back.
He showed us a picture of a red truck with 3 bullet holes in it, with the guy still sitting in it, dead. And he told us, this is what happens to you when you come out here.
And even today, when you took us out to view some of these illegal grow ops, the same man that stopped you and your wife that day actually stopped us.
Well, as I pulled up to him, I warned you guys, hey, yeah, you know, hide everything.
Son, why you leaving? Where your house? Your house.
The husband ended up taking us out, and we ended up getting stopped by the same man that gave him the threat. So he stopped us. There was another individual in his truck with a gun, like he had it right there on the dash.
But I was scared to death. I still fear retaliation, because I'm sure he's going to wonder what I'm up to.
The other issue is the water, because without water, there's no life.
There he is hooking up to the hydrant.
We live in a drought state. This is a very deep aquifer.
And this is clearly not a legal water truck. This is not somebody who has any business doing this.
I get out here and there's a truck idling. The guy had backed up to the mandatory fire hose coupler.
This activity is sucking our aquifers dry.
And the guy that came out here had unscrewed this, and he just yanked it off and threw this down.
He watched me photographing him, filming him taking water out of a well, and he didn't appreciate that, so he actually backed up his truck and confronted us about it.
It's a big concern that the water may not be there for us when we get older.
This is him filling up. These are, he's at this tank.
We went to the water board meeting and we discovered that surplus water sales, which is the people that come in here and truck it out, was up 347%. And resident water sales was up 52%.
$80 bill could become very quickly a $210 bill.
We did ask at the water district why they're selling to these people, and they basically said, well, we're not the police.
And one resident showed us that in less than a year, their premium water sales have jumped over 300%. And the huge issue that they see, the residents, is that the water board doesn't want to stop these premium sales because they're making money, but the residents are losing out. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, so there's a couple of the smaller water districts that are doing that. One at least has stopped. And I'll tell you, so one of the water districts, they have been selling to water truck haulers for years.
Our district is only allocated so much water per year. Anything over that amount, we have to pay a premium.
Just stealing water out of the hydrant in the middle of the night, damaging the hydrant, jamming the water system, and getting the water for free.
That cost is on the residents.
It's sort of mind-blowing that we can't grow crops here to feed ourselves.
You know, we have dead peach orchards because people can't grow peaches.
Yet we watch these cannabis operations pop up.
We can't grow nuts. We can't grow food.
Each cannabis plant uses 3 to 6 gallons of water a day.
Some of these grows have thousands of plants times over 500, 800 grows.
It makes no sense. A joke, and it's not even a joke, but like, what are we going to do? Sit around and smoke dope?
Despite efforts by the Department of Public Works to harden the waterworks district infrastructure against theft and illegal tapping, the threats to the water system remain significant.
I've been painting these guys a lot lately. Started just a little bit late, you know. I'm still waiting for the males to show which ones are males, and then I'll be down to my six legal plants.
What do you think like the perception is from like the people who grow weed legally on these cartel grow-ups?
All good strain. That's a gelato crossed with pre-98 Bubba. Most of these are all the pre-98 Bubba. So people who grow legally, they have to go through so much red tape. They can't really compete with this underground market. I'm an old school grower, man. I like I said, I started back in the 90s. So what's their initiative to have a
No way, this dude's actually got a kilt on. I'm dead, dude. He's actually got a kilt on. That is sick, dude. He must be yeah. That's sick. Must be from Scotland.
illegal grow? What would they care?
And just losing all that tax revenue. I mean, California is losing on millions. I was looking at the numbers, and the goal of California is they wanted 6,000, marijuana-approved licenses for grows, and they're only at 1,000. 80% of the marijuana here is getting sold in the black market. So even the state itself is losing all that tax revenue. For people who want to do it legal, there's so much red tape and tax. So for them, it's like, well, we could do it this way, and
we're penalizing
and the
the
risk
people
is
that
low.
want to play by the rules.
If we want to allow grows, then I want my children's school in the district, in the area, to benefit from it.
And that was the purpose, really, if you think about it, being able to get tax revenue off of something like this, and then the corresponding things that come out that you use that tax revenue for.
Not one bit of it's going to the state, not one bit of it's going to the county. None of it is, not one penny of that is benefiting my community.
All the dispensary cares about is that a van pulls up with a bunch of weed, and they give him an invoice, he gives them cash, they drive away with the cash.
I don't blame the cartels for doing what they're doing. They're making money. That's what they're designed to do.
That is why there's an incentive to illegally grow. What moron would go through the process of actually being legally licensed and inspected and all that when you can't even deposit that money in a federal bank and the whole thing? That's why the cartels invented this game.
I don't have a problem with people wanting to come here and make better money. What I do have a problem, and this is why I'm speaking up, is because our leadership from California to the Board of Supervisors of Los Angeles have failed us to create a good policy to allow legal cannabisation, cannabis use, recreational, even medical. They failed us.
Because any state that doesn't fight the federal government and say, hey, take marijuana off Schedule 1 is fighting a losing game. And my credibility on this is that I don't smoke pot. And there's a vacuum for cheaper weed. And so these guys can grow it cheaper because they're not paying for the land and they're stealing the water from California and California taxpayers. And those are the two things you need. As it turns out, to grow stuff, you need dirt and water. It's a no-brainer for them. Who wouldn't do this?
Confirmed, sir. It's Levi.
Was this number 3 for you guys? Yeah. As my little one would say, kapow! Go get it, guys.
This is what is known as Operation Hammer Strike by San Bernardino County, where they have these marijuana teams working actively to take down these illegal grows that are really plaguing the communities both in San Bernardino County and also LA County.
Someone brought them here. They're probably working off whatever funds they owe for coming to America. And roughly 2 to 3 plants, depending on their height, can make a pound. These should be 1 pound bags. Our plant count, since they've already gone through it, this one's sitting on 287 inside there. 1 bag is worth anywhere from, I would say the product, the quality that we're seeing out there, it's $1,200 to $1,500 for 1 bag. Or 140 pounds of process is probably inside this location. So you're talking a minimum of 140,000 for this one.
And if this bag goes to the East Coast, it's selling like at ×3.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, 3 to 4 times. That other one was closer to 160. So between two, you have $300,000 in product at the location, just at the first 2. Pretty common. Majority of our grows we see are Mexican national and Chinese national. Their whole purpose to come here was just to tend for the grow, and then it helps cover their costs for whoever brought them over.
Okay, so those are 5 Chinese nationals.
I would say 90–95% of the time, the people that are here tending to them are undocumented. If it's ran from a drug trafficking organization. The most common in our area are the Mexican national, Chinese nationals. We are starting to see Armenian come in the area, but very small right now. Yeah, they'll work off their debt. They could be here a year, they could be here 6 months, depends how much they owe.
Now, Lieutenant, what type of living conditions are you usually seeing when you guys make these bust and raids?
This is very common. Usually you don't see a home on them. A lot of our other areas, they build their own little wooden 4x4 or 8x8 box, and they'll put a bed like this in there with a mattress, or they just get some cheap Winnebago trail RV and put it on the property and sleep on that. It's sad because the people that own this, that are funding this, don't care about them as much as they don't care about this, the local community and the desert landscape, what happens to it.
And Lieutenant, so now that you made the arrest, does your team come in here and kind of destroy everything?
Yeah, they don't destroy. So we can't deal with any of the property here because that's not in our search warrant. The only thing we deal with is the plant. The plant's the product that we're allowed to take as evidence. So we'll just take all the plants, then we'll leave all the buckets, and we'll leave the tarps up.
This was a busted illegal growing marijuana operation that we were here 2 weeks ago. And one constant theme that we always hear from the residents is no matter how many times they bust them, within a month or even sooner than that, they're up and running.
You said that this can like rebuild in like 2 days?
Oh yeah, the framework is still here. So they can come in, fix all this plastic, put in some new irrigation, plant some new plants, and they'll be in business.
In less than 2 weeks, they already have all the plywood up, and this illegal marijuana growing operation is gonna be up and running pretty soon. But just once again to show you how much control that these guys have out here and kind of the lack of law enforcement, right? They make the bust and you think the problem is solved, yet in under 2 weeks.
When you're down there on the ground and you're speaking to law enforcement, you're meeting with LA County Sheriff Alex Villanova, what do they need in terms of resources to continue to combat this issue? Is the defunding situation kind of just hurting that mission right now?
Yeah, these are the types of task force that get defunded first. When you start making budget cuts at the top line to local law enforcement agencies like the sheriffs.
When we reached out to law enforcement and asked them what can be done about this, the fact that they're telling us they're defunded.
The first thing they get rid of are things like the marijuana eradication teams or gang task forces.
There's nothing in the budget. They have limited resources. That's not encouraging.
And so this is why we can't defund the police.
Most of the people that I talk to are not for defunding the police.
So we've been vacillating on the idea of having to relocate.
In fact, the defund police is the reason why these cartels are so emboldened.
We've come to the decision that things aren't going to change fast enough and probably not in our lifetime.
They don't feel threatened by our law enforcement.
I've made the decision, we've made the decision that we're going to start looking for places to live.
So it seems like the cartels are more powerful than the LA County. And we're left to fend for ourselves here.
And John, when I say the name George Gascon, what comes to mind?
If you had a message for him, what would it be?
Well, I really can't say on camera.
He needs to take action. He needs to not take this lightly. This is a serious thing.
On the state level, California's passage of Prop 64 has attracted growers from surrounding states like Washington State and Oregon. and on the bigger scale have attracted cartels and illegal immigrants who are able to infiltrate the country through our broken border, something that I have witnessed firsthand.
I will be going back to Texas to cover the border crisis, but as I leave California on top of homelessness and a governor recall, Californians are now stuck with drug cartels in their backyard.
Yeah, absolutely insanity. I can't believe this shit's actually happening. Cannot believe it. Like, what? There's one more. There is one more. There's one more thing I want to show you on YouTube here before I get off. What's it called? It's called. Yeah, that's it. Border Invasion USA, Episode 1.
There is electromagnetic energy in that pyramid between
worth billions of dollars are smuggled by drug mules through this gateway to the rest of America. And millions of Mexican immigrants enter the United States illegally in search of a better life. We have unique access to Arizona's elite police units,
Sheriff's Office,
who have the most dangerous job in the battle to protect America's frontier. Tonight, hitting the drug mules smuggling marijuana across the border.
and I have a bailout.
A sting to catch drug dealers in Phoenix.
Get down on the ground!
And uncovering the full extent of the immigration problem.
Come to the front door with your hands clearly visible!
It's an epidemic. It's extremely, extremely busy. It's out of control.
Phoenix, a city battling drug gangs and people smugglers. It's the capital of Arizona, a state situated on the border with Mexico. Every year, Mexican gangsters smuggle thousands of people over the border and through the state in cars known as load vehicles. To battle this flood of illegal immigrants, the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office have set up the Human Smuggling Unit. In the past 3 years, the unit has arrested almost 3,500 illegals.
Here's the deal, guys. We're going to go back out and hit the road and try to get 20, 30 bodies in custody like we usually do.
The 24-man HSU squad is led by Lieutenant Joe Souza.
Got anything, Lieutenant?
Hey, real quick, guys. Outstanding job last week. One of the British SAS's favorite quotes is, "For evil succeed, all it takes is good men do nothing." That's one of my favorite quotes, because you got to do something. You got to keep doing it. We keep the balance. Although they keep letting people out, we keep chipping away, and we kind of keep that balance between evil and good.
The team head off for the first job of the day. One of Joe's deputies has just arrested a coyote, the HSU term for a human smuggler, who's given the location of where a number of illegal immigrants are being held. These properties are known in the trade as drop houses.
Think of a drop house as the bus station. The way it works is that folks come in from south of the border, they bring them into Phoenix. They're held there until other coyotes show up to take them to their next destination, whether that be California, Chicago, New York. Not as violent drop houses. Now, what we categorize as a violent drop house, now people are being held against their will, and they're not letting them go. We've seen the level of violence from people being raped, being tased. We've even done drop houses. We found people stripped down naked and shot and stuffed in the closet. Extremely violent.
Lieutenant Souza and 4 deputies arrive at the suspected drop house on the west side of Phoenix. All they know is that there are 3 men in the house. They could be armed and dangerous. Using a key taken from the coyote arrested earlier, they open the front door.
Sheriff's office! Policía! Oficina del sheriff, salga fuera con las manos! Policía! Oficina del sheriff, salga fuera con las manos!
Give us, block us, right. Shield us, ready?
With no response from inside,
get real low, man.
Joe must use his team to cover him as he clears each room.
I got it, Pete. Carlos, right here, that's yours, Carlos.
Okay.
I'm gonna block, you take the bed, clear the bed. I'm gonna lean in, check this door, cover long, okay?
The first 2 rooms are clear, so they move to the back of the apartment.
Sal con las manos para afuera!
All right, I got one. Carlos, you stay with me. Have somebody debrief. Carlos, stay long, bring him past me.
With 1 suspect in custody, they smash the front window to give themselves better eyes into the house.
All right, there I go. Dump into that room, get quick so my back ain't exposed. Good job.
3 more suspects are quickly discovered.
Look under everything.
¿Están seguros que nadie más está ahí dentro, verdad?
No. 344, what do you call?
He's saying it's clear.
The raid complete, Joe's team have found 4 people in hiding.
I can see the inherent dangers of this job. We've made the entry, we've cleared the house. But as you can see in plain sight, the butt of a 1911 sticking out of the corner of the bed right there. And these are the dangers we deal with. We can do this 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, non-stop. Some houses, 30 people in the house, some houses 4, some houses 5. It's just a non-stop process, and we come back to my favorite word, epidemic proportion.
The arrested men said they came to the US to seek a better life.
Sí, porque allá ganamos bien poquito. Okay. ¿Es duro para vivir? Bien duro. La misma cuenta de todos. Sí, de todo. Okay. Allá porque ¿necesitan médico o no? ¿Están bien todos? Sí, también todo. Okay, me alegro. Sí, todo. Okay.
All 4 men were deported back to Mexico for illegally entering the country.
If you really think about it, this is my opinion. It's basically the dream. Everybody wants to be able to make money, support their families. It's kind of like they used to call the American dream. But from a law enforcement perspective, I can't let that deter what I do. There's a high criminal element, a ruthless criminal element coming here that has no conscience about the crimes they commit.
Do you really want to spend the rest of your life watching ads? Guys, just download Pi. It's a free Google Chrome extension and it basically blocks ads for you. And it actually gets cooler because if you do see ads, Pi legit pays you to see them. I had no idea these were even ads, but I made money off of them, which is pretty sick. It even has a visual mode that lets you watch your ads disappear, which is so satisfying. It takes like 5 seconds to install it, so honestly, just give it a try. Who knows, this might be the last ad you see.
The main entry point into Arizona for immigrants is 180 miles south of Phoenix at the border town of Nogales. A 15-foot high fence running the width of Nogales is all that separates the American town from Mexico. The local police department is on the front line in the war against humans being smuggled across the border.
Right now we're on International Street. It's called International because it's along the border. This is the US, the United States, and that it's Mexico.
They fight a daily battle with scouts running the trafficking operations for the Mexican drug mafias.
If you can see across the street into Mexico, the subject standing right there that's looking to us, he's one of the scouts. When we first got here, they were standing in front of the vehicles. As soon as they saw the camera, everybody started walking behind the vehicles, covering their faces and things like that. They're pretty much the people that tell the illegal immigrants how to enter into the US, how to do it. Either they jump through this part of the fence right here, they use the retention poles, they use them to slide down the fence.
If the immigrants make it over the fence, they head straight to derelict houses.
Dude, this is nuts. This is nuts. Leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are.
Houses at the end of the street. Every day, the Nogales PD patrols the streets looking for people illegally entering the US.
This is evidence of human trafficking. Water bottles and some sandals in there that have been left behind. They'll come across and hide out here for a while until it's clear, till they don't see either Border Patrol or local law enforcement, and they're able to move up from here. And you'll run into areas like this all over town.
Officer Basilio Angulo and his colleagues search a nearby property, a known stash house.
Police department! Probably belonging to a child. It is sad, especially when you think about the conditions that these children are put through. The weather, the rain, the extreme heat on the desert, traveling with little or no water. It's very hard for them to make the journey.
Illegal immigrants are not the only contraband the Nogales PD tried to intercept. That evening, Officer Amador Vasquez has received a tip-off that marijuana is being smuggled north out of the town in a white vehicle.
Okay, heads up, heads up. Vehicle, Victor's about to exit. Okay, vehicle just passed, Zero feet, just passing. Yeah, 21, I got a cell phone in.
And before I got him,
He catches up with the white saloon and signals him to pull over. The suspect refuses to comply.
T31, I'm gonna have a failure to yield. Vehicle going northbound. Okay, right now the vehicle's not stopping, so we're in pursuit of the vehicle.
The smuggler looks to escape Amador. A dangerous high-speed pursuit begins.
T31 vehicle just hit a pickup truck.
Coming up, Officer Vasquez tries to corner the vehicle, but will he be able to arrest the criminal and confiscate the drugs? On the border between Mexico and the US, a drug war is being fought every day. Nogales Police Department are chasing a suspected marijuana smuggler who failed to stop when ordered to. Officer Amador Vasquez is hot on his tail. Feeling the game is up, the suspect attempts to take a sharp right down a dirt track and almost crashes as he loses control of the car.
Cartels, flecha corta, flecha corta. T31 is native, the driver's still on flecha corta. We're on flecha corta. We're going now northbound on Coma Court. And I have a bailout. I have a bailout.
Other armed suspects could be hiding in the car, so Amador checks the vehicle.
10-4, do you have a description of the subject on the runner?
10-4, he's wearing a gray shirt, blue pants. Right before Flecha Court, there's another street. A white Blazer just pulled over and picked up somebody.
It looks as if the drug smuggler is picked up by a white van on the other side of the ravine. Amador opens the trunk of the vehicle and finds 36 kilos of marijuana, worth about $40,000 in Phoenix.
We don't know if we have somebody arrested, but we're successful because we recovered the narcotics. As long as we have these things out of the street, that's a successful operation.
The hunt for the suspect steps up a gear. trucks are pulled over on the highways. One is stopped with 2 people the police think could be the culprit. Amador arrives to ID them. Neither of the suspects are the men he's looking for. The drug trafficker has got away. But the Nogales PD has also pulled over a pickup containing 5 suspected illegal immigrants. Many feel they have no choice, but to risk arrest for personal matters, most people take for granted.
My dad got pretty sick 3 months ago. He had a heart attack. I got a call because my dad was pretty much dying at the hospital. So I had to make a right decision. And I choose to go see my dad for one last time. I wasn't gonna be able to fix any papers, so tried to do it this way.
Thank you.
With 5 illegals detained and $40,000 of marijuana seized, it's been a busy night for the Nogales PD. Before ending his shift, Amador takes the seized contraband back to the station. Once processed, these bales of marijuana are added to the already huge quantity of confiscated narcotics in a secure lockup known as a drug bin.
As we come in here, you can see that there's all different types of evidence. There is heroin, cocaine, China white. The marijuana that we have stored here in this drug bin is probably worth about $9 million or more. 90% of what's in here is marijuana, basically because Nogales, Arizona is one of the largest corridors in the United States for marijuana. This, for example, is a marijuana backpack. This weighs about 50 to 60 pounds. As you can see, there's all different types of straps that they use to carry it on their back like backpacks. These bundles of marijuana that are wrapped in foil with a red tape, these were being carried by an ultralight. Basically, an ultralight is a low-flying aircraft, like a hang glider, but it's got actually a motor on it. These actually fall on the ground. Just more marijuana. This is where we store it. All we have that really secures us from Mexico is a fence. They find a hole, make access into the United States, and they shove these through the hole into a vehicle. There's a lot more marijuana, but as you can see, we can't even walk in there.
As well as massive amounts of drugs, the police seize a lot of firepower.
The gun trade, I mean, it's huge. Anytime there's drugs, there's guns. This is like a $7,000 piece of equipment. It has El Campeón on top of it. That means the champion. Basically, this gun was made for a drug dealer.
Every month, the majority of these narcotics are destroyed. But some are used to catch drug dealers. Back in Phoenix, the Maricopa County SWAT unit are on their way to a drug sting in an abandoned warehouse, where they're using confiscated marijuana to tempt dealers into the open. This elite tactical team is used for high-risk operations that fall outside the abilities of regular officers. They must first check every square inch of the derelict building, so they have no surprises when the deal goes down.
What we're looking for right now is a place where we can draw our suspects in and at the same time have the takedown teams in a position where if they've got to come out, we're ready to go and we're right on top of them quick and fast.
I mean, we're going to have 2 eyes on top, and the assault team's going to have to be back here somewhere. This would probably be our best bet.
At this time, we don't know who we're dealing with, how many guys we're dealing with, so we just got to be prepared for anything. Nice. I think we could have 2 up here and 2 somewhere in the back. So if something does go down, all we gotta do is come out to that corner. Another 2 will be coming out of the back, maybe.
With their tactical positions sorted out, it's time to get the product into the warehouse.
Basically, there's 1,000 pounds of marijuana that we've seized on other deals.
We use it again and again. We put it in the freezer and hang on to it, try to keep it fresh, and then use it for doing reversals and stuff where the bad guys will come try to buy it from us. They get smarter. We give them an education every time we pop them with something, so then they learn, oh, well, we won't do it that way anymore, and they have to come up with something new. So we got to be more creative, hence using a warehouse and stuff like that, trying to draw them out a little bit because they're nervous about meeting us in public. So if we can get them to come into here and get them to feel comfortable, this might work out well for us.
This half-ton of marijuana has a street value of $1,000 per kilo in Phoenix. But if a dealer takes it north, the whole batch could be worth as much as $5 million.
With drug dealers, a lot of these guys want to see the dope in hand. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to have the dope ready for them so they can see it, take a sample if they want. They can check it here. But it actually does it better for us so they can see the marijuana actually present, so it doesn't look like we're trying to rip them off or vice versa, so we actually look legit.
With the bait in place, an undercover narcotics detective puts in a call to the potential buyer.
Talk to me, what's the delay? And you sure they got the money? Because I cannot be waiting anymore. Imagine if I was just waiting for you to call you, I won't make any money.
I know.
I won't make any money. You know what? I'm gonna. Yeah, I should call my ex-wife. Maybe she'll lend me some money. I bet you she has more money than you guys.
Okay.
The drug dealer attempts to haggle, but the undercover plays hardball.
This is what's gonna happen. By 3:25, you say no. That's as low as I can go. You know what? I'm not gonna wait anymore. If they don't want to do it today, then we're just gonna wait till Tuesday. So okay, you got 20 minutes.
You can't try to push things that make you look like the police. So you gotta tell them, hey, if you don't want it, fine, I got other buyers. You gotta act like they do. If you don't, they know who you are. So it's trying to be as natural as possible, and if a deal's not gonna go, don't push it, let it go. We'll do it next day, you know, that's how it is.
The final tactical decision to be made is what happens if the deal turns bad.
Mike Garcia takes his hat off. If Gonzalez raises his hands, or you hear verbal, either one of them says, oh shit. Okay? You guys, if you guys see the visual, you need to get to us, tell us, move, move, move. Okay?
The first deal seems to hit a snag, so the undercover narc quickly tries to line up another of his contacts, a Jamaican drug dealer.
One source typically has many buyers, so they all come in at different times. You might go for a week or two without anybody needing anything, and then suddenly everybody needs something. Some days are good, some days are slow. It's like any other business.
No, I got you. Now, so you want what you need? Only need 50? Just give me a few minutes. I'm gonna pass by. You can follow me. As soon as you follow me, but you sure you got the cash on you, right?
As we're waiting for one deal to go, we're gonna actually have a meet with the Jamaican drug dealer, show him a sample of the product. He's gonna show us the money. They're gonna come back here, and we're gonna make the deal.
Coming up, with the drug dealer lured into their trap, will the team take him down and successfully complete another mission? Arizona is locked in a fierce battle with drug gangs. The Maricopa County SWAT unit are on a risky drug sting in an abandoned warehouse in Phoenix.
I mean, we're gonna have 2 eyes on top, and the assault team's gonna have to be back here somewhere.
They're using a half-ton batch of confiscated marijuana with a street value of $5 million.
Alright guys and gals, I am going to get off. Yeah, this is all pretty wild. It's interesting how the cops set up stuff. Pretty crazy. Yeah. Like, comment, share, subscribe, always appreciated. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. Alright, take it easy.